Hey everyone, John Blankets up here, and welcome to another Big QU Knowledge Nugget. In this edition, we're going to be exploring another Big Q quality management fundamental principle we call the process approach. I hope you find this knowledge nugget insightful and informative. Now, we've already discussed the process approach in a previous knowledge nugget that was titled the universal approach. It was a part of that section that discussed the tenets of transformation that would transform an organization from a little q quality-minded organization to a big Q quality-minded organization. So in this edition, I'd like to talk about the process approach in a more practical way, and I'd like to do that by discussing the information and requirements that are in ISO 9001 2015. So if we start in the introduction section of the standard, section 0.3 titled the process approach tells us that understanding and managing interrelated processes as a system, not individual processes, but processes integrated as a system, contributes to the organization's effectiveness and efficiency in achieving its intended results. It goes on to say that this approach enables the organization to control the interrelationships and interdependencies among the processes of the system so that the overall performance of the organization can be enhanced. Next, it describes the process approach as involving the systemic definition and management of processes and their interactions so as to achieve the intended results in accordance with the quality policy and strategic direction of the organization. Then the last part of this section goes on to say that management of the processes and the system as a whole can be achieved using the plan, do, check, act cycle with an overall focus on risk-based thinking aimed at taking advantage of opportunities and preventing undesirable results. And then it offers up a diagram that represents the structure of ISO 9001 in a plan, do, check, act cycle, and it offers a schematic that represents the element of a single process. The one thing that I want to point out here that I think sometimes is missed from a practical standpoint when we talk about the processes approach is the system integration of processes. So you can see in this introduction of process approach how many times they make reference to processes as a system, the processes of the system, systemic definition and management of the processes, management of the processes and the system as a whole. So one thing that I think we have to really focus on when we are embracing the process approach is understand the integration of the processes into a system. Let's further explore the process approach in ISO 9001. Let's look at the requirements. In 4.4.1, titled QMS or Quality Management System and its processes, it states that the organization shall establish, implement, and maintain and continually improve the quality management system, including the processes needed and their interactions in accordance with the standard ISO 9001. It further states that the organization shall determine processes needed for the quality management system and their application throughout the organization. So what are these processes that are needed for the quality management system? Well, we can use the framework of ISO 9001 to understand that. We're talking about leadership processes, planning processes, support processes, operation processes, performance evaluation processes, and improvement processes. Well, what does that framework look in an organization? It looks like this. At the top, we have leadership processes that really make up sections 4, 5, and 6 of the standard. At the bottom, we have support processes, that is section 7 of the standard. In the middle, we have the core operational value stream processes that make up section 8 of the standard. And then to the right, we have performance evaluation and improvement that make up sections 9 and 10 of the standard. Well, what does this really look like if I were to take the lid off the box and look down into this organization? What we would see is a series of processes in that leadership level. And then we would see a series of processes in the support processes level. We would see a series of processes in the operational value stream. And then we'd see processes for performance evaluation and processes for improvement. Now, what I want us to understand is that the main idea of the process approach is the integration of these processes into an interrelated, interconnected, and interactive set of processes that are aligned and working together to achieve a common output for the system. So a highly optimized or effective and efficient system is a system where the connections and interactions between these processes are very well designed and organized and managed in a way that the organization can produce the desired results from the system. So the standard goes on to say that the organization, in addition to determining the processes needed for the quality management system and their application throughout the organization shall also determine the required inputs and expected outputs of the processes in the system. And if you recall, we talked about this in a previous knowledge nugget where we understand that the inputs of the process are those red X's, those independent variables, or what we call the 7 M's. And the output was the green Y. And that output can be products and or services. In addition, the organization shall determine sequence and interaction of the processes in the system. And this would look something like this, like the previous slide that we just showed. It's the system integration of the processes and what those sequence and interactions look like. And then next, the organization should determine the criteria and methods for effective operation and control, including monitoring, measurement, and related performance indicators. So what we're talking about is process requirements, activities, instructions, control plans, objectives, measures, key performance indicators, or KPIs. Then the organization shall determine the resources needed and ensure their availability. And from a resource perspective, we're talking about people, the infrastructure, the environment, measurement and monitoring provisions, and organizational knowledge. In addition, the organization shall assign the responsibilities and authorities for the process. And what does that mean? We're talking about responsibilities and authorities for planning the process, for executing the process, for controlling the process, for evaluating and improving the process. So in many realms, when we talk about assignment of responsibility and authorities, we're talking about the assignment of a process owner. Who owns the process? Who owns the planning of the process? Who owns the execution and controlling of the process? Who owns the evaluation and improvement of the process? Next, the organization shall address the risks and opportunities that the processes face in the system as determined by the requirements in 6.1 of the standard. And 6.1 of the standard is focused on assessing risk and opportunities of the quality management system and the processes that make up the quality management system. Action plans, improvement plans, risk mitigation and countermeasure activities relative to risks and opportunities that have been identified for the processes within the system. Then we also talk about evaluate, implement any changes needed to achieve intended results. So the organization shall evaluate and implement those changes needed to achieve intended results. And we're talking about things like measuring, monitoring, analyzing, and evaluating, nonconformity corrective action, and continual improvement activities. Let's close by discussing the benefits of the process approach in Big Q quality management. We can create consistent and predictable quality outcomes much more effectively and efficiently through an organized system of aligned process outcomes. Understanding how results are achieved by a system allows the organization to optimize the system and its performance. We talk a lot about this. We talk about we want to be managers of systemic causes of results, not just managers of results. We want to understand how results are achieved through the system. That will benefit us by providing effective process management for optimized performance. It will provide efficient use of resources. It will help us identify and break down cross-functional barriers within an organizational structure. And it provides confidence to all the interested parties that the system will fulfill their requirements and achieve objectives. And this is the definition of quality assurance. Deming would say that when all the process connections and interactions are working together to accomplish a shared aim, the organization will achieve tremendous results. So one of the great benefits of the process approach is making those process connections and interactions in that systems integration mindset so that everything is working together so that the organization can be the very best that it can be. And don't forget what Deming always said, that universal truth. Every system is perfectly designed to give you exactly what you're getting today. Well, that's going to be a wrap on this Big QU Knowledge Nugget. I hope this edition piqued your interest and intellectual curiosity. If you'd like, provide any comments relative to the content. And if you haven't already, please consider following me and subscribing to this LinkedIn newsletter. I hope you're planning to join me for the next Big QU Knowledge Nugget, where we're going to explore another Big Q quality management fundamental principle called improvement. But until then, remember, every day is a great day to make things better. See you next time.